All right, Shabbos, say good morning. Today's daf is Kuftes Vav 115. We are Miras Hashem, beginning the brand new parak together. Beautiful new parak, new week, new parak. We thank our sponsors for this morning's shir, our week of learning sponsors, Yehuda and Jennifer Goodhart in memory of Jennifer's father, Yeshaya Zalman ben Lazar, and Ira and Miriam Grossman in memory of Miriam's father, Leonard Howard, Aryeh ben Moshe Halevi. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, the Neshamos will have an aliyah and the families a nachama. And Rabbi say with that, let us begin. So we are picking up brand new parak, as I mentioned before, Kol Kisvei HaChodesh. Rabbi says this really is a very fascinating sugya that is going to take us over the next couple of days. This sugya also is very much rooted, we'll see, in a Gemara in Meseches Megillah that speaks about the nature of translating Sifrei Tanakh. So let's begin. Kol Kisvei HaKodesh. Any literally again holy scrolls or holy writings. Now Rashi points out over here called Kisvei Kodesh Kigon Torah Neviim Uksuvim Velo Tema Torah Lochotu Deshar the Mitzvah. So therefore called Kisvei Kodesh Rashi says Tanakh Torah Neviim Ksuvim Matzilin Oson Mipnei Hadaleka. If a fire breaks out on Shabbos, you are permitted to go ahead and save them on Shabbos. Now what's the issue over here? So we will see this is going to be an issue of carrying. So what the Mishnah really is permitting is, and again we'll see the parameters, that halacha l'maisa, if you don't have an eruv and there is a fire that chas v'sholom breaks out in the home, that you can go ahead and carry these scrolls. Now where you can carry these scrolls, how you can carry these scrolls is going to be subject to discussion. But right now the Mishnah is telling me that whether you have scrolls of Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim, if a fire breaks out, you are permitted to go ahead and save them on Shabbos. Bein shekorin bahen, bein she'in korin bahen. Whether these are the types of scrolls that you are permitted to read on Shabbos, whether you're not permitted to read them on Shabbos, what does this mean? Look at Rashi. Bein shekorin bahen, kigon, Nevi'im, shemaftirin bahen b'Shabbos adei sakneses. So we'll say, for example, scrolls that you would be permitted to read would be Torah, of course, and Navi. Torah, because Torah is Torah, right? And Nevi'im, because Nevi'im are used on Shabbos for Haftorah. Ubein Shin Korban, or what are the types of scrolls you can't read? I will say, what type of scrolls can't you read? This is incredible. Look at Rashi. Bein Shein Korin Bahen, Kigon Ksuvim. So we'll say, so we're going to see that there was a rabbinic prohibition to read Ksuvim on Shabbos. To read Ksuvim. So we'll say, so for example, Ksuvim are the Megillas, right? So we can't read Ksuvim on Shabbos. Why not? Rabbeinu Halevi Amar Dafilu Yechidim in Koran Bani Kediktani Taimo Mishum Bittel Beis Hamedrash. Chazal were concerned they didn't want you learning Ksuvim because it would prevent people from coming to the Beis Medrash. Now, what does that mean? Here we go. This is really incredible. The Mashkin Liba Ubishabbos Hayudarshin Drasha Labale Batim Shasukim Bimalocha Kol Yumos Hachol Ubisoch Hadrasha Yumorin Lahen Halochas Isser Veheter. V'tov lahem l'shmoam b'likros piksum. So listen to this, Mosai. It's incredible. On Shabbos, there would often be halacha shiurim for balabatim. And people who were working during the week, so they would have shiurim and halacha on Shabbos. So what's the concern? The concern is it's a lot more interesting to read Megillas, right? To read stories, than it is to go ahead and listen to a halacha shir. And therefore, Chazal were concerned that if people were reading Ksuvim on Shabbos, they would not come to the Beis Medrash to hear the shir and halacha. So therefore, again, it's really incredible. So therefore, Chazal came along and said, no reading of Ksuvim on Shabbos. Again, we'll see this in a bit more depth, but pretty incredible. So therefore, I will say what the Mishnah is telling me is as follows. On Shabbos, if a fire breaks out, you can save any scrolls of Torah Nevi'im and Ksuvim. And the Chiddush is, even though you can't really read Ksuvim on Shabbos, right? You're only reading Torah and Nevi'im, you could still go ahead and save the scrolls. The Gemara says, and furthermore, you could save them even if they are written in any language. Again, we'll discuss the parameters of that halacha as well. Tu'unin gniza. Furthermore, again, I'll say these scrolls require gniza. Remember, gniza means shemis. You have to go ahead and put them away. You have to go ahead and store them away in an appropriate bakavadik fashion. If you look at Rashi, tuning Geniza, Rashi says, Asra lahanicha mamakom hefker, ubigimar mataris larabo, se perishu, dahai b'cholosh. So fine, we'll see this in the Gemara. So the Gemara says furthermore, and by the way, going back now, Why can't you read ksuvim on Shabbos? Mipnei bittul beis hamedrash. Because ultimately, again, there was a concern that a person is not going to end up going to the beis medrash. Right? The person won't show up for the halacha shir if they're busy reading ksuvim. Okay, itmar. So I'll say, here we go. So the Gemara asks the following kasha: Hayu ksuvim targum o b'chol lashon. So we'll say, what happens if you have one of these scrolls? Now I will say that interestingly enough, so Rashi says over here, Aksuvim ka'amar, v'lim yira akol kisvei hakodesh kai. So according to Rashi, Rashi says this is talking about any of the kisvei kodesh. So whether it's Torah Nevi'im and Ksuvim, you have a scroll that's written in Targum. Targum usually means Aramaic. O b'chol lashon. So we'll say, what is the halacha if on Shabbos you have a scroll that's not written in Hebrew? Instead, it's written in Targum, right? It's written ultimately again in Aramaic or in any other language, and now a fire breaks out. Are you permitted to go ahead and save that scroll on Shabbos? Rav Huna Amar in Matzilano. Rav Huna said no. You are not permitted to save that from a fire on Shabbos. The dispensation, or the allowance, the license, I should say, to go ahead and save scrolls from a fire on Shabbos is dafka only a scroll written in Hebrew. But according to Rav Huna, if it's written in any other language, halacha l'maisi, can't save it on Shabbos. For Rav Chisda says Matzilin also in Me'adligav. Rav Chisda says you are permitted to save it on Shabbos. Aliba demanda amar nitnu likros bahen. So according to the opinion that says that halacha l'maisi you're permitted to read scrolls that are written in other languages, to kuli amalo pligi de Matzilin. Everyone agrees. So I'll say, there is a sub-machlokes here. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Aliba demandamar nitnu likros bahen, mutar likros bekisvei hakodesh aksuvim b'chol lashon, Seches Megillah, ve'ein bein svarim tefillin mezuzos, elisha svarim nechtavim b'chol lashon. So we'll say, there is a machlokes, and again, we're going to see this more in tomorrow's daf a bit more, about the general allowance to translate Sifrei Tanakh. So remember again, in the purest form, so Sifrei Tanakh were not written in any other language. All of this falls apart where? With the story with Talmi HaMelech, King Ptolemy and the Septuagint, where King Ptolemy ordered the 70 elders to go ahead and translate the Torah. That was the first mass translation of the Torah, and that kind of broke things down a bit. So there is a fundamental machlokes as to whether or not you are permitted to write in scroll form Sifrei Tanakh in other languages. So the Gemara says as follows. So the Gemara wants to suggest like this. So here's what we have. Just take a step back. I have a scroll now. Doesn't matter whether it's Torah, Nevi'im, Ksuvim, makes no difference. And that scroll is written in a different language, not Hebrew, whatever language it is. And what happens? A fire breaks out. So now the shaila is, am I permitted to save that scroll on Shabbos? Rav Huna says no. Rav Chisda says yes. So now the Gemara suggests as follows. Aliba demanda amar nitnu likros bahen. According to the opinion, it says that you are permitted to use scrolls, you're permitted to read and learn scrolls that are written in other languages. The kuli amalo pligi de Matzilin. Everyone will agree that you're permitted to save such a scroll from a fire on Shabbos. Ki pligi. So where does the machlokes come up? Aliba demanda amar lo nitnu likros bahen. So we'll say the machlokes is, according to the opinion who says, that you are not permitted to translate Tanakh into other languages. Rav Huna Amar Ein Matzilin. So Rav Huna therefore says you're not permitted to save such a scroll from a fire. Very simply, why? The halo nitnu likros bahen. Because since to begin with you're not permitted to write the scroll in another language, you're not permitted to learn from a Torah from another language. Therefore, Allah L'maisi, you can't save it on Shabbos. Rav Chisda Matzilin. Yet Rav Chisda says you still go ahead and save it, even if you can't learn from it. Why? Mishum bizayon kisvei kodesh. Because at the end of the day, this is still a scroll of Torah information. And because it's a scroll of Torah information, to go ahead and let it burn would be a bizayon, would be degrading. Tanan, so we'll say, let's analyze. We're going to do the Mishnah. Kol kisvei kodesh matzilin osam liad leika. You are allowed to save any scrolls of Torah from a fire. Bein shekorin bahen, bein shein korin bahen, whether you're permitted to read from them or not permitted to read from them. Afa pi sheksuvim b'chol lashon, even though they are written in any language. So both sides, the Mishnah seems to be pretty explicit in saying that halacha l'maisa, if I have a scroll of Torah, even meaning of a Torah topic, Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, Even if it's written in a different language, whether I do read it, don't read it, halacha l'maisa, I'm permitted to save it on Shabbos. My love shekorin bahen neviim. Shabbos say, doesn't that mean when you say a scroll that you read from, that's referring to neviim? V'she'in korin bahen ksuvim. And a scroll that I can't read from is ksuvim. And Shabbos say again, that's not as much a language issue as much as it is a topical issue, as we discussed before. To which the Gemara says, and that's stated, afapi sheksuvim b'chol lashon. Even though these scrolls are in any language, or other languages, other than Lashon HaKodesh, v'lo nitnu likros bahen v'katani matzilin. So we'll say, yet the Mishnah seems to indicate, no matter what type of language, what language this scroll is written in, and whether it's a type of scroll that you can or you can't read from on Shabbos, it sounds like from the Mishnah that you're permitted to save it. V'tiyuv to the Rav Huna. And this would seem to refute the position of Rav Huna, because Rav Huna says that if you have a scroll written in a different language, you can't go ahead and save it on Shabbos. Amar Lacha Rav Huna says, 1 second, v'tizbira, ema seifa tu'unin gniza. So ultimately Rav Huna says, but 1 second, what do you do at the end of the Mishnah then that says that halacha l'maisa, these scrolls also require gniza, that when you're finished with them, you can't just simply discard them, but rather you have to go ahead and put them in shenis. Hashta atzuli metzalinon keniza mi boy. So Rav Huna says, if you're correct that you could save any type of scroll, any language, if you could save it on Shabbos, kind of doesn't it go without saying that it requires shemus for its disposal? I will say middle of the first wide line. El Rav Huna mitaritz l'tamei v'Rav Chisda mitaritz l'tamei. I will say both Rav Huna and Rav Chisda will both explain the Mishnah according to their reasoning. Second line, second wide line. Rav Huna mitaritz l'tamei. So also again, remember Rav Huna. Remember what sheet does Rav Huna? Rav Huna holds that halacha l'maisa, if you have a scroll written in a language other than Hebrew, halacha l'maisa, you are not permitted to save it on Shabbos. So Rav Huna says as follows: Rav Huna mitaritz l'tamei. So Rav Huna goes according to his reasoning. He explains, Bein shekorin bahen, when the Mishnah speaks about scrolls that you could read from, Nevi'im. That's a reference to Navi. Nerabosai, it goes without saying that it's Torah also. It's meaning, in addition to Torah, Nevi'im. Ubein shein korin bahen. And when the Mishnah says you could even save scrolls that you can't read from, what is that referring to? Ksuvim. That's Ksuvim. When is this so? We'll say, when are you permitted to save these scrolls on Shabbos? The Gemara says, Sheksuvin b'lashon HaKodesh. That is true if they are written in Hebrew. Aval b'chol lashon. But if these scrolls are written in other languages other than Hebrew, ein matzilin. You are not permitted to save them on Shabbos. Va'afilu hachi geniza bo. But even though you can't save them on Shabbos, what? You are still obligated to dispose of them by putting them in shemus. Rav Chisda mitaritz as may. Conversely, Rav Chisda explains according to his reasoning, and he says, so also remember again, Rav Chisda says, you are permitted to save scrolls even if they're written in a different language. Rav Chisda mitaritz l'tamei, bein shekorin bahen, when it says you could save scrolls that you could read from, that's Nevi'im. Bein shein korin bahen, the scrolls that you can't read from, that's Ksuvim. Afa pi sheksuvim b'chol lashon nami matzilin. And according to Rav Chisda, even if the scrolls are written in a different language, you are still permitted to go ahead and save them. Vachi kamar, and the end of the Mishnah when it says tu'unin geniza, what does that refer to? Makak shalahen tu'unin geniza. So we'll say, what's the makak? If you look at Rashi, Rashi's in the third of the widest lines. Makak shalahen imbalu v'nasu rekavon af hamakak rakvuvis shalachilas hatoloim tu'unin geniza. So this is actually very interesting. That ultimately, again, Rav Chisda understands over here that halacha l'maisa. Rav Chisda explains that makak also means if you have a sefer and like essentially, I don't know what the right technical term is, but it's like it's decomposed a bit. So the sefer itself is decomposed. So all you have is like, remember when they speak about sefer, speaking about a scroll, the parchment itself just decayed. Even decayed parchment, a decayed sefer still requires shemus. So this is the fundamental machlokes Rav Huna and Rav Chisda. Namely, what is the obligation or what is your ability, what are your rights regarding a sefer, a scroll that was not written in Hebrew? According to Rav Huna, you are not saving such a sefer. You're not saving such a sefer. According to Rav Huna, even though you're not saving the sefer, you would still go ahead and put it in shemis if you choose to discard it. Rav Chisda, halach l'maisa, you could save any scroll, any holy scroll on Shabbos, even if it's written in a different language. And the statement regarding shemis, ultimately again was what kind of statement? Was a statement halach l'maisa that even the makak, that even if you have decayed parchment, you should still put that in shemis. So this is the machlokes. So says the Gemara Meis I'll ask a kasha hayuksuvin targum v'chaloshin. If you have a scroll that was written in Aramaic, or for any matter, and for any language, matzilin osomim ne'adaleika, you could save that scroll from a fire on Shabbos. So we'll say it seems to be pretty explicit. Tiyufta de Rav Huna. This would refute the position of Rav Huna, because remember again, Rav Huna was saying that Allah is only permitted to save a scroll that's written in Lashon HaKodesh, written in Hebrew. Yet the process seems to be pretty explicit that you could save any scroll on Shabbos. Rav Huna will say to you, Hai Tana Savar Likros Bahen. No, Rav Huna says, listen, I will acknowledge it is a machlokes. I'm not going to deny the fact that not everybody agrees with me. So this particular opinion holds that halacha lamaisa, you are permitted to go ahead and use a scroll written in a different language. Tashma. Okay, next. Tashma. Hayuk suvin giftis, midis, ivris, ilmis, yavanis. If you have a scroll that was written in any of these other languages, anfapi yishlo nitnu likros bohen, even though ideally you should not go ahead and be using this scroll, right? Because we'll say it's reflecting the view that we don't translate Torah into other languages. Matzilin osam evneadaleika, you could still save it from a fire on Shabbos. So again, we'll say pretty explicit brisa that even halach lamaisa, if you hold that Torah, that Nevi'im and Ksuvim cannot be translated into other languages, if a fire breaks out, you could still save that scroll on Shabbos. Tiyufta de Rav Huna. This would seem to refute the position of Rav Huna. Amar l'cha Rav Huna, to which Rav Huna would say, Tanoihi. This is a machlokes tanoim. Desanya, because we learned, Hayuk Suvin Targum Ubechaloshin, if you have a scroll that was written Targum Aramaic or in any other language, Matzil Osum Neadaleka, you can ultimately save it from the fire. Rabbi Yossi says, in Matzil Osum Neadaleka, you can't go ahead and save it from the fire. Amar Rabbi Yossi. So I'll say there was a story. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Maisa Ba'aba Chalafta. There was one, this is an interesting story. There was one of Abba Chalafta, Shahalach Eitzor Rabbi Gamliel B'Rebbe, the Tveria. And he went to Rabbi Gamliel, right, B'Rebbe, son of Rabbi, in Tveria. Umatzo, Shayoshiv al Shulchano. And he saw that he was sitting by the table of Yochanan Nazuf. Now he changes it over here to Yochanan ben Nizuf. Ubiyado Sefer Eov Targum, and he was holding a translated Sefer Eov. A scroll of Eov that was written in Aramaic. V'hu koripon, he was reading from it. Amralo, he said, Zochar ani Rabbi Gamliel avi avicha. So he said, I remember your Zayda, Rabbi Gamliel. Remember again, he's talking to Rabbi Gamliel Berebi. So he says, I remember your grandfather. Rabbi Gamliel was named for his grandfather. Rabbi Gamliel Berebi was named for his grandfather, Rabbi Gamliel. I remember your grandfather, Rabbi Gamliel, She Omed Agabi Maila Baharabayis, that he was once standing on literally again the steep of Harabayis, on a step of Harabayis, on the high part of Harabayis, the view the fun of Sefer Eov, and they brought before him a book of Eov, Targum, that was written in Aramaic. Va'amar libnai, and he said to the builder on Harabayis, Shaku tachas hanidbach, bury this underneath the row of bricks. So apparently, when Rabbi Gamliel got this Sefer Eov written in Aramaic, he felt it was inappropriate to have this book written in Aramaic and ordered that it be buried on Harabayis. So the Gemara says, look at Rashi just a moment. Al gav Harabayis, sheba Harabayis hayu mailus, kishayu holich v'gavo ki desam sechas midos nidbach, shuras avnei habinyan. So he's standing on Harabayis, he was, right, somebody showed him ultimately a Sefer Eov written in Aramaic, and he ordered the builder to bury it underneath the row of bricks on the Harabayis. when Rabbi Gamliel bar Rebbe heard about this episode with his Zayda, he also ordered that the Sefer Eov written in Aramaic be buried right then and there. So the Gemara Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Huda Omer, Areva Shaltit Kafu Alav. That in fact what they did is they went ahead and they took Areva literally means like a trough, right? They took a receptacle filled with mortar and they poured it over the Sefer Eov. That's what this is another version of the story that occurred with Rabbi Gamliel the elder on Harabayis. So the Gemara just as an aside, Amala Rebbe Shtei Shuvas B'davar. Rebbe says I have two problems with this story. Number one, Chada v'chitit b'Harabayis minayin. Abosai, there was never mortar on Harabayis. They didn't use mortar on Harabayis. What did they use? The Kirashi, tit b'Harabayis minayin v'chibatit hayubonin. Would they build with mortar on Harabayis? No. V'alo b'trachsit hayubonin chol v'sid mu'uravin. They both say in Harabayis they never used mortar. They used something called trachsid. Trachsid was a combination of sand and plaster, which created a very like a luminescently white substance that was used for building any structure on the Harabayis. So what do you mean that they poured mortar over it? They never had mortar. So the Gemara says that's number one. That's va'od v'chi motor la'abdan biyad. Furthermore, Abosai, even if you hold that halacha lamaisa, you should not write svarim in another language, and you shouldn't even read from them. Does anyone say that you could actively destroy them by hand? Or does Rabbi say, okay, you can put them in shemis, but does anyone say that you should actively destroy them by hand? Ella, rather, what do you do with these scrolls? If you are of the opinion that halacha l'maisa they cannot be written, so again you leave them in a place to decay, and they decay on their own. So we'll say so again. So just understand where we're still at. We're no better off right now. Oh, here's what we know. We know that there's a machlokes ultimately whether or not you are permitted to write svarim. Can you write scrolls in other languages or not? So that is clearly a source of debate or a point of contention. Now that machlokes I will say has a number of ramifications. Ramification number one is, what do you go ahead? Is there an obligation for geniza? Is there an obligation for a scroll that is written in a different language if halacha l'maisa you hold that it cannot be written in that language? So the answer to that seems to be yes. It appears that everyone is agreeing that even if you hold you can't write it, you still have to dispose of it appropriately. Now, can you go ahead and actively destroy it like it's discussed over here, or do you have to put it in shemus? Again, that seems to be subject to some level of debate as well. But for our purposes, where the real nafkamina comes up is, can you save such a scroll on Shabbos? That's the fundamental shayla. I know the Mishnah tells me that I could save scrolls from a fire on Shabbos. Not only that, but I could even save scrolls that are not permitted to read from. Because remember, again, Abba says, you saw in the Mishnah, you can't read ksuvim on Shabbos. Again, we'll discuss this all in greater depth. You can't read ksuvim on Shabbos. But even though I can't read ksuvim, I can still save ksuvim. But can I save a scroll written in a different language? So this is the machlokes. Rav Huna is telling me no. Rav Chisda telling me yes. So I'm sorry. My tanoi. So what's the machlokes tanoi? Amud beis. Ilema. So if you want to say as follows. Ilema. Tanakam Rabbi Yossi. So we'll say perhaps ultimately again, the Gemara's Ilay Tanakam Rabbi Yossi. Maybe the Tanakama ultimately holds like Rabbi Yossi, the Dilma Baha Kamiflagi. Maybe this is what they're arguing about. Here we go. Mar Savar Nitnu Likros Bohen, Umar Savar Lo Nitnu Likros Bohen. So we'll say, so maybe the machlokes over here is whether or not you're permitted to go ahead and read from such a scroll. One opinion holds that you're permitted to do so. One opinion holds that you're not permitted to do so. Ella Rabbi Yossi V'tana de Giftis. Rather, Rabbi say, so again, what we know is we are encountering a machlokes tanoim, right? The machlokes, whether or not you could save a scroll written in a different language on Shabbos, is a machlokes tanoim. And what are they arguing about? So as I just mentioned before, it appears that the fundamental machlokes is rooted in the core issue as to whether or not you are permitted to read a scroll written in a different language. So the Gemara says, well, maybe the machlokes is Rabbi Yossi and the Tana of the Brais of Giftis. What is this? Tana Rabbanan, here we go. Habrachas v'hakamiyin. So let's listen to this. Brachas. Now, what does it mean, brachas? Look at Rashi, which is on brachas. Marbeya, brachas, shetavu chacham, can go yurches or shabrach. So let's listen to this. So brachas means, let's say one decided to write down a bracha. You're writing down birchos hanenin, right? Brachas, shakol, mizonos, hadama, agafen, or you're choosing to write down shmona esrei. And you're writing it down just on a piece of parchment. Or kamiyin. Kamiyin, Rabbi, remember again, are amulets. Afapi, sheyesh one osio shel shem, even though again they have the letters of the Shem Hashem, ume'inyanos harbe shebatorah, and again they may have also different aspects of the Torah written on them. Ein matzilin osan mepnei hadaleka. You are not permitted to save them on Shabbos if a fire breaks out. Elon disrafin bin koman hein vaskarosim. Supposed to listen to this. If you have a piece of parchment and on that piece of parchment are brachas, right, or shmona esrei. So even though again you have the name of Hashem, obviously, you're talking about brachas, or you just have another piece of parchment just with some psukim on it, you can't save that on Shabbos. Rather, you must allow it just to be. You're not allowed to save it, and therefore, again, you have to allow it to be burned. So the Gemara says, and we'll see what the logic. Look at Rashi. Nisrafim bim koman im nafla deleika b'Shabbos. So therefore, as a result, mikana amru kosvei brachas kisofrei Torah. From here, Chazal said, those who write brachas are like ones who burn the Torah. So we'll say what this means is, and again, we'll develop this more, but halacha l'maisa, the license to save scrolls on Shabbos is limited to scrolls of Tanakh. So therefore, if you wrote on a piece of parchment Shmona Esrei, or you wrote on a piece of parchment Kriya Shema Lamita, or you wrote something else, halacha l'maisa, if a fire breaks out, you are not permitted to save it on Shabbos. So Chazal said, therefore, if one goes ahead and writes any of these sections on a piece of parchment, it's as if they're burning the Torah, which is another way of saying, don't do this. Don't do this, because if a fire does break out, you are not permitted to save it. So the Gemara tells a story. There was a story of a guy who was running an illegal svarim business. Right, there was a contraband svarim, and what were his contraband svarim? He was writing down Shmona Esrei and brachas. Right, he was writing all of this stuff down on parchments. Bo v'odias Rabbi Shmuel. So listen to this. They came and they told Rabbi Shmuel what the guy was doing. So v'halach Rabbi Shmuel lebotko. Rabbi Shmuel went to pay a surprise visit to the guy. Kishaya ola b'sulam hirgishbo. Suppose it wasn't to the story. So Rabbi Shmuel is climbing the ladder into the attic of the rogue sofer. Right, so the rogue sofer, this guy's writing Shmona Esreis and brachas like nobody's business. Right, Rabbi Shmuel gets an anonymous tip. He's going ahead and going up into the attic, upper story where the guy is writing his illegal parchments. Here Gishbo, the rogue sofer, hears Rabbi Shmuel coming. Notol tumus shal brachas v'shakan b'safal shalmayim. He takes all of his parchments filled with brachas, and he throws them into a trough of water. Now, why does he throw them into a trough of water? Because this way, again, the ink comes off the parchment, going ahead and erasing anything that he did. So Rabbi Shmuel comes up, he sees what happened. Rabbi Shmuel, gadol onesh ha'acharon min harishon. What this guy just did now is worse than what he did before. In other words, writing down these items on the parchments was not good, because that's not what Chazal want. But actively throwing them into the trough of water and now going ahead and causing them to be erased was even a more significant avera of erasing the name of Hashem. So therefore, again, so the Gemara now introduces a new concept over here, which is as follows. So far we know here's what we know. We know that if you have a scroll of Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, or Ksuvim, I don't mean one scroll, I mean like individual scrolls. If it's written in Hebrew, Lashon HaKodesh, everyone is agreeing that halacha l'maisa, you're permitted to go ahead and save that on Shabbos. That's everyone agrees. If halacha l'maisa, it's written in a different language, right? Something other than Lashon HaKodesh, that's machlokes, Rav Huna and Rav Chisda. If you have pieces of parchment upon which are written brachas, kriyas shema, other things, right? Shmona Esrei, even though it has the name of Hashem, halacha l'maisa, you are not permitted to go ahead and save that on Shabbos. A further addendum to that halacha is Chazal did not want you writing those items to begin with. So the Gemara goes weiter. So we'll say next shaila. So we'll say, so again, we will see the halacha l'maisa. Remember again, I have not forgotten about the machlokes, Rav Huna and Rav Chisda, about a scroll written in a different language. We're going to see that halacha l'maisa tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll get to see a lot of this halacha l'maisa. Right now, today, we're just framing the sugyas. So here we go. So Reish Galusa asked the following shaila from Rabba Baravuna. Hayu ksuvim b'sam u'b'sikra b'kumus u'b'kan konsum. B'lashon HaKodesh. So let's listen to this. Here we go. In this case, you have a scroll of Tanakh, the Torah, Navim, Ksuvim. In this case, you wrote it in the right language, Lashon HaKodesh. So what was your quote-unquote mistake? You wrote it in an ink that's not normally used for Sefer Torah. Sama, Sikra, Kumus, Kankasum. We'll say these are not usually the inks that are used to write the Sefer Torah or to write a scroll. So therefore, again, the Gemara asks, Matzilin also Matzilin. So we'll say scroll written in the right language, but wrong kind of ink. You don't usually use this kind of ink for a scroll. Can you save it on Shabbos? So Tibayla Mandamar Matzilin, Tibayla Mandamar Ein Matzilin. So we'll say, so this is really a shaila, according to the opinion who says that you could save a scroll written in a different language, or you can't save a scroll written either way. This is a shaila. How so? Tibayla Mandamar Ein Matzilin. So we'll say, according to the opinion who says that you are not permitted to save a scroll written in a different language, Hani Mili Heicha Diksivi Targum Ubecholoshin. When can't you save the scroll? When it's written in a different language. Aval Hacha Diksivi Belashon HaKodesh Matzilin. But here, since the scroll is written in Lashon HaKodesh, you can save it. Otilma. Conversely, maybe we say, Afilu Mandamar Matzilin Hani Mili Heicha Diksivi Bidyo Dimekayim. Aval hacha kevin delo mekayim lo. So we'll say, so again, on the other hand, maybe we'll say that, when do we say that you could save a scroll? That's when it's written in a type of ink that endures. But this type of ink, which does not endure, cannot be saved. Amar le in matzilin. So he answered that when the scroll is written in a type of ink that does not endure, halacha l'maisa does not last. Halacha l'maisa, the scroll cannot be saved. But Rav Hamnuna said you can save it. Rav Hamnuna seems to be of the opinion that as long as the scroll is written in the correct language, halacha l'maisa, you are permitted to go ahead and save it. To which the Gemara says, Amalei itanya tanya. He said, fine. If that's the version you have, then that's the version you have. In other words, we'll say if Rav Hamnuna says that, then Rav Hamnuna says that. My tanya. So we'll say, what's the brisa that supports this? Amravashi Kidisanya. So here we go. Ein bein Svarim leMegillah. In general, there is no distinction between Svarim. So remember again, we see last time we're talking about scrolls of Torah, Nevi'im, or Ksuvim. In general, there is no distinction between Svarim and a Megillah. In this case, Megillah refers to over here, Megillah's Esther. Elo, Svarim nichtavim b'chaloshin, except that Svarim are written in any language. Or Megillah, take suva ashuris ala sefer b'dio. Except that Megillah, you're right, Psalm could be written in any language, and Megillah has to be written ashuris, which I will say is a specific script. Ashuris is to what we call contemporarily Sefer Torah script, ala sefer on parchment, ubidio, and with ink. So we'll say, what do you see from here? Now what the Gemara is picking up on is something very interesting. Rashi says, look at Rashi. The Divrei Mask Rashi is here. Amr Megillah b'dio. The Gemara doesn't actually say that. This is Rashi's words. V'katani duhumin advarim shebein svarim leMegillah shmamina shar svarim nechtavim b'samu b'sikra. So we'll say, here's what's interesting. The fact that the Gemara says that really there's no difference between svarim and Megillah, except that svarim can be written in any language, whereas Megillah has to be written as shuris. Furthermore, again, Megillah has to be written on a sefer. special kind of parchment, ubidio. Dio means ink. Now the fact that it says Megillah has to be written in ink indicates to us what? That other scrolls can be written in other forms of other inks as well. So therefore I will say again, so what we have over here is another machlokes, halacha lemaisa, as to what happens if you have a scroll, that is not written with typical dio. In other words, normally you would be writing a scroll with dio, right? Dio is classic, we'll call it Sefer Torah ink. What happens if you wrote a scroll of Tanakh with a non-lasting ink? Can you go ahead and save that scroll on Shabbos? Another machlokes. So keep a running tally of all of our machlokes. Number one, can you save a scroll written in a different language? Number two, ultimately, again, can you save a scroll written in a non-enduring ink? Again, we'll see all of this halacha l'maisa. Next. So Rav Huna bar Chalav asked the following shayla Rav Nachman. Another interesting case. Sefer Torah she'im bo lelakeh shmonim v'chamish osios. What happens if you have a Sefer Torah that does not have 85 intact letters? Kigon Parshas Vayibin Sa'aron Matzilin Osam and Me'ad Leko im Matzilin. So let's listen to this. The Gemara is going to discuss over here that in order for a Sefer Torah to have an identity of a Sefer Torah, it must have at least 85 letters that are kosher and intact. Kosher and intact. Now, where does 85 letters come from? See, interestingly enough, the section in the Torah of Vayehi bin Soa Aron, that section which is considered to be a parsha unto itself, which again we'll discuss all of this in the coming Gemaras. That section has 85 letters. So therefore, I will say, because that section of Vayehi bin Soa Aron is considered to be a parsha unto itself, you see from here that the smallest unit, the smallest parsha in Torah is 85 letters, not 85 words, 85 letters. So therefore, again, what the Gemara is saying is as follows. If a Sefer Torah does not have 85 intact letters, it no longer has the identity of a Sefer Torah. So watch this. So Sefer Torah she'in bo lelakeh shmonim v'chamesh osios. If you have a Sefer Torah which does not have 85 intact letters, Kigon Parshas Vayibin Sa'aron, Matzilin also Me'adleik, or Matzilin. So we'll say if you have a Sefer that does not have 85 intact letters, fully kosher letters, we'll say now this is throughout the Sefer. Let's say it's a very old Sefer, right? Very damaged Sefer. If it doesn't have 85 intact letters, can you save that Sefer on Shabbos or not? So Amrlei, V'tiboy lecha. Parshas Vayibin Sa'aron Gufa, Heichad Dechaser Parshas Vayibin Sa'aron. So the Gemara says, let's keep it simple. What happens if halacha l'maisa, you just have a scroll, and it's a pretty short scroll, all it has on it is the section of Vayibin Sa'aron. That's all you have. And let's say you're missing something, there's a letter or two or three missing from that section. Can you save that sefer on Shabbos? To which the Gemara says, no. So we'll say, if you have the section of Vayehi bin Sa'aron written on a piece of parchment, that's not a shayla. Why? Because I will say, ultimately there, since in that parsha you have the name of Hashem, since the name of Hashem is there, you would be able to save that parsha on Shabbos, even if there were not 85 intact letters. So where does the shayla come up? Ki kami boili Sefer Torah she'im bo lelaket mai. So we'll say the shayla is what happens if you have a Sefer Torah, and there are not 85 intact letters, and there is no intact name of Hashem. Can you save such a sefer on Shabbos? Amarle, to which he explained, Ein Matzilin. Halacha l'maisa, you cannot save such a sefer on Shabbos. So both say, what the Gemara is suggesting over here, so it's actually very interesting. If you just have the part, what the Gemara is seemingly saying is, if you just have the parsha of Vayehi bin Sa'aron, which again is the smallest unit of Torah, smallest unit that represents a parsha, if you have that, that's 85 letters. Even if those 85 letters are not full, because that section has the name of Hashem, Once you have an intact name of God, you are permitted to go ahead and save the Sefer on Shabbos. The shaila is now, you have a really damaged Sefer, and throughout the Sefer there aren't 85 intact letters. Can you save that on Shabbos or not? The Gemara now indicates, Im Amarlei said to him, Im Hatzilin. You cannot save such a Sefer on Shabbos, because such a Sefer which does not have 85 intact letters doesn't really even have the identity of a Sefer Torah. Eisvei, so the Gemara raises the kasha, Targum shekasvu mikra. So we'll say ultimately again, if you have, now again we'll define these cases in just a moment, but if you have Targum, I will say if you have something that was written in Aramaic, but instead you wrote it in Hebrew. You wrote it in Hebrew. Or Mikra Shekasvu Targum, or something that was written in Hebrew, Lashon HaKodesh, but you wrote it in Aramaic. Or the Gemara says, Shekasvu Targum, Ksav Ivris, or instead of writing something in Ashuris, which is like Sefer Torah script, you wrote it in Ivris, which was a different Hebrew script. Matzilin Mipnei Hadaleka. You are still permitted to save such a scroll from a fire on Shabbos. Ve'in tzarich lomar targum sheba Ezra v'sheba Daniel v'sheba Torah, and it goes without saying about say that the items that are truly Aramaic in Ezra, Daniel, and the Torah, that if you wrote those items targum Aramaic as they're supposed to be, that they could be saved. So much just as an aside, targum v'sheba Torah mainihu. We'll say where is there Aramaic in the Torah? To which the Gemara says yigar sahadusa. Right? Remember again about side. This is in the end of Parashas Vayishlach. Right? Where ultimately again Yaakov is coming back to Eretz Yisrael. Lavan's running after him. They make a treaty, and essentially like a line of demarcation. You don't come over this line, I won't come over this line, and they made a pile of stones. Yaakov called it Gal'ed, and Lavan called it Yigar Sahadusa. Yigar Sahadusa is Aramaic. So we'll say, so therefore again, Va'afagav the less space shmonim v'chamesh osios. So we'll say this. So what do you see from here? It seems to indicate that halacha l'maisa, if you have anything written as part of a scroll that you're permitted to save it on Shabbos, even if there's less than 85 letters, that's what seems to indicate of, right? We'll say if you have that which is written in Targum, that which is written in Ivris, the Bryce here seems to indicate that halacha l'maisa, anything written down in a scroll ultimately again has kedusha and therefore can be saved on Shabbos, even if it doesn't have 85 letters. That conscious we said before. To which the Gemara says, "You're right." Kitanya, no, well, actually, you're not right. Kitanya hi lahashlim. That's talking about lahashlim. Also, what does that mean? Look at Rashi. Kitanya lahashlim im haya bokedei lalaket v'targum zu mashlimo mitzarif umatzilim b'shur. No, but which the Gemara says as follows. What it means is like this: the 85 letters is the absolute necessity. A scroll is not called a scroll if it doesn't satisfy the 85 letter minimum. So also without 85 letters, you don't have the din of a sefer. What's the chiddush over here? The chiddush over here is that halacha l'maisa, if there are Aramaic words, right, that comprise the 85 letters, they still count towards the 85 letters. That's the Gemara is coming to introduce to us. So therefore, the Gemara really ends off with over here is halacha l'maisa, this notion that 85 letters is the minimum amount to go ahead and make a scroll. If you don't have 80, and again, I want to point out, these letters can be dispersed throughout the entire scroll. But if you don't have 85 intact letters, you don't have a scroll. Where does 85 come from? 85 comes from the section of Vahi bin Sa Aron, which the Gemara is reckoning as a separate independent parsha. Now, where the Gemara gets that from, we'll have to see. But Lamaisa, again, 85 letters represents a basic intact parsha. If you don't have 85 letters, you're not a scroll. The Chiddush is, even if you have halacha Lamaisa, 85 letters, some of which are comprised of Targum, it still works as well. So everybody say, you know what, we'll stop over here for today. We'll Lemir Hashem pick up at the Ibailuhu tomorrow. Shkach Rabosai. All right, we'll end the Zoom again. We'll broadcast the minyan from the shul parking lot again. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.